All right, TeamStrub, day 9. We're here in New Orleans with Jack Styczynski. Jack works with Youth Rebuild New Orleans. Jack, why don't you introduce yourself, sort of explain what you do with the organization?
Yes, I'm an AmeriCorps Vista through the Tulane University Center for Public Service. I'm the volunteer coordinator and a grant writer at the organization. I'm just finishing up my second year of AmeriCorps. I'll be finished in July. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing after that, but volunteer coordination basically involves bringing groups both locally and from around the country to work with Youth Rebuilding New Orleans. Obviously volunteering, helping us out, saving our costs, whereas we don't have to pay contractors to do the rebuilding work. Grant writing is pretty much self-explanatory. We're trying to get money to keep the organization going and so forth.
Sure.
Those are my two main roles with Youth Rebuilding New Orleans.
Okay, and the primary role of Youth Rebuilding New Orleans would be?
So we are a rebuilding organization similar to probably a lot of your folks that you know of Habitat for Humanity. We're a similar organization in that capacity in terms of rebuilding homes. Locally focused, just in New Orleans, there was Habitat as a nationwide organization. But we do have a couple of differences in terms of just rebuilding. We do more than that. First of all the houses that we rebuild using volunteer labor, such as yourselves, we sell to teachers. We're trying to provide affordable housing to teachers in New Orleans so that we can encourage them to help improve the education system here. So we sell them at 20% below market value, which encourages the teachers to stay here. The other way that we focus on education too is to have 18 to 24-year-olds on our construction staff working with us and going to school simultaneously, so they're learning a construction skill and also able to study typically at one of the local community colleges, sometimes one of the other local schools, whatever subject they want. So we have people who are studying construction-related things in school, and we also have people who are studying things like business administration, criminal justice, that sort of thing. So they basically are doing two things at once, and that's getting their education and learning construction skills.
Okay, Jack, so a lot of people outside of New Orleans might not realize the totality of the devastation that was onset by Hurricane Katrina, which you said we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary this fall.
Right.
So.
August 29th, 2005 is the year it hit, so we have a big day of service planned for August 29th, 2015, which is not only Youth Rebuilding New Orleans, but the other rebuilding organizations are taking part in that too, through the mayor's office, Mayor Landrieu. So the totality, to get back to your original question, about 200,000 properties were in need of rehabilitation in the immediate days after Hurricane Katrina. That was 80% of the city that was flooded. Prior to Hurricane Katrina, we had it was a city of a lot of blight then too. We had about 20,000 that were in need of rehabilitation then. So Hurricane Katrina, in a matter of 24 hours, basically multiplied by tenfold the number of houses that needed to be rehabilitated in New Orleans. 10 years later, we're back down to about 30,000 that are in need of rehabilitation. So we have two goals. One would be to get back down to our pre-Hurricane Katrina levels, and then our utopian vision would be, can we get back down to zero? Second goal, the utopian vision, is going to be a little bit tougher, but we think maybe within the next 4 or 5 years we can get down to pre-Katrina levels.
And I thought it was fascinating, we'll touch on this quickly, you mentioned that the day of Katrina, everyone sort of thought that you guys were in the clear.
Right.
The pressure built up against the levees, and it was just...
Right. So Katrina was not a direct hit on New Orleans. It was a Category 5 hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, and as it started approaching New Orleans, it not only weakened, but it also moved a bit to the east, which didn't hit New Orleans as hard as they originally thought it was going to. So in the immediate hours after Hurricane Katrina, people here who had stayed and not evacuated thought they had dodged a bullet. There were actually people out in the streets thinking, oh great, we didn't get hit, let's have a party, etc., etc. And then in the overnight hours after Hurricane Katrina hit, the city just started flooding, and that's because the levees had broken. You probably heard of the Ninth Ward before.
Yep.
That's where the main levees from the Mississippi River Gulf outlet broke. And because of that, the Ninth Ward was hit the hardest, but the whole city, or 80% of the city, basically flooded. So people thought they had dodged a bullet, and then within a matter of 24 hours, 80% of the city was underwater.
So the Ninth Ward is the worst. I mean, let's give the people a sense of context. Are we in the Ninth Ward? Where are we now compared to the worst of the devastation?
We are really kind of like in a confluence of three neighborhoods right now. We are really technically in the Bayou St. John neighborhood, but we're right on the border of it.
Okay.
So the other neighborhoods that are right around here too are the Treme, who you may have heard of that neighborhood from the HBO series, the Treme, and the Mid-City neighborhood too. So all three of those neighborhoods are kind of like coming together right where we're standing right now. This is a neighborhood that I'm pretty confident will get back to 100% capacity relatively soon, because we have a medical bio district going up about a mile from here. So I feel like that will be a magnet to draw people back into this particular neighborhood, and I think it would get back to 100% capacity, as opposed to the 9th Ward, which of the 30,000 houses that I mentioned are still in need of rehabilitation. I don't know the exact number, but I'm guessing at least half of them are still there, because that's where the most devastation is.
Yeah. So we're here, we're in one of 4 properties that are relatively congruous here.
Right.
You know, we're here on the corner,
Right.
and then we were working sort of across the street, maybe right behind this house here. And if you watch a Snapchat video on our Facebook page, you'll see sort of some of the scenes from the work we were doing this morning. But you have 4 properties here. You said this will be the primary focus for the year,
Right.
for YRNO.
Right, so we're on St. Anne Street right now, and we bought 4 properties on this corner, which really makes it good for us, because when we have our volunteer groups come in, or even individual volunteers like yourself, what we can do is we can manage them with our construction staff all in one small pocket of a neighborhood. So if we had 4 properties dispersed throughout New Orleans, our construction staff would also be dispersed, and we wouldn't be able to move as quickly. So this is really very convenient for us to build 4 properties. We bought from one previous owner who owned all 4 of these properties at a very cheap price. We would be able to rehabilitate them and sell them at a much higher price than we bought them for, and pass along the savings to the teachers that we sell to, and then we will also be able to make enough money to plow it into other properties that we work on. So having 4 on one corner is really useful to us.
So this morning I was here with a group from Sci Academy.
Correct.
You know, we worked for a couple hours, sort of explain how that process works. First of all, how do you get the groups from the schools, and sort of what do we do here this morning to help you guys out?
So typically during the school year, we work a Tuesday to Saturday schedule. And we do work on Saturdays during the school year to accommodate local school students that want to come and work with us. So Sci Academy is one of our partner schools. They come out maybe once a month, once every 2 months. They send a group of anywhere between 10 and 20 kids come and work with us on the site. So we actually have I'm in AmeriCorps, we have another AmeriCorps who works with us. You met her this morning, Sandy. So she's like the coordinator of the group that comes from Sci Academy and comes out and volunteers with us. So because they're in school, they would only be available to volunteer with us on a weekend, so Saturday. During the summer, we work Monday to Friday, and that's to accommodate more groups who are coming from around the country. We also work during Monday to Friday schedule during March, because we have a lot of spring break groups from around the country. So as the volunteer coordinator, I'm basically booking groups to work either Tuesday to Saturday during the school year, or Monday to Friday during either March or the summer. And we have a mix. I've done the statistics not super recently, but maybe within the last 6 months or so. We basically have 45% of our volunteers come from out of town, 55% come from in town.
Yeah.
However, that being said, we have our out of town volunteers, which are 45% by number, do 2/3 of our volunteer hours. And that's typically because if somebody comes from out of town, they may volunteer with us for a few days or even a week. Whereas the school that you're working with this morning is only here for 2 hours today, so they don't put in as much time as the out-of-town volunteers.
So this I absolutely love, because anyone watching this at home, doesn't matter what state you're in, it's really a fantastic opportunity. You get a group together, you know, come down to New Orleans. We were talking about how, of course, it's New Orleans.
Fun. Yeah, it's fun.
There's a destination here, and then you guys offer a facility where that people can come in and pay and actually stay with you guys.
Right, so it's a win-win situation. We have a bunkhouse that doubles as our office. It's in the 7th Ward. It's about 2 miles from where we're standing right now. And we're able to house up to 30 people in our bunkhouse.
Wow.
And it's great for groups. We typically do not house individuals there, but it's great for groups to come in, particularly if you're talking about a college or a church group that wants to come in for either spring break or something during the summer. We can house up to 30 people there, and we charge them $25 per person per night. And the reason I say that that's a win-win is that's about as good a rate as you're ever going to get for staying in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And secondly, it's basically free money for our organization, which we need revenue to sustain us.
Yeah.
So it's great money for us, and it's a bargain for them, so it's a win-win.
And you talk about some of these college age groups. You mentioned you had a couple college groups in last week. That their determination and their ability to work really does make a difference for the organization. Allows you to accelerate the process. And I can see you smiling here.
We love all of our volunteers, but not all volunteers are created equal. Typically, the ones that are coming from out of town are like really passionate, have a mission, and they're spring breakers, and they come here and they want to work hard and they want to party hard.
Yeah.
So we had a group from Marquette last week, and we had a group from one stayed in the bunkhouse. Rosemont College from Philadelphia stayed in the bunkhouse. Marquette did not; they stayed somewhere else. But both groups volunteered with us for the entire week. They got a lot of work done on one of our houses across the street.
Shout out to Marquette.
Yes.
Nice job, guys.
Marquette and Rosemont.
Are
both repeat volunteer groups. So they come, Marquette has come 3 times this year. Rosemont came this time last year and then last week as well.
And my uncle is a Marquette alum, so he'll be very happy to hear that.
Golden Warriors.
Shout out there. Great people up in Wisconsin.
Yep.
So this is really fantastic. And we were talking, just to wrap up here, on a more existential level, the greater goal is we really want to drive big business back to New Orleans,
right?
To encourage individuals to come in and help, shoulder some of the responsibility of rebuilding some of these thousands of houses.
Right. As I was telling you earlier before we started this interview, it would probably be generous for me to say that the nonprofit rebuilding organizations are rebuilding 250 houses in New Orleans per year. We have 30,000 to go. So do the math. It's going to take like 120 years if you're just depending on the rebuilding organizations.
Yeah.
So we obviously want big business and small business to come in town and draw people to just want to buy these cheap properties that I talked about that are still abandoned, blighted, vacant, whatever, and just build them themselves and using contract labor, or if they happen to have the skills to build them themselves. That's the way we're going to be able to reduce the blight in New Orleans quickly. We're moving much more slowly in terms of reducing the blight than we were in the years immediately after Hurricane Katrina, just because basically the people that were going to come back to New Orleans are already back, or they're never coming back. So now you're talking about people moving into these houses who are either living in apartments or, they're just moving to New Orleans for the first time. We obviously want to make the city as vibrant and as business friendly as possible.
Yeah.
So it's going to take big and small business to really reduce the rest of the blight here. And that's not to disparage the work that any of the rebuilding organizations are doing, including Youth Rebuilding New Orleans, but it's going to take more than just a rebuilding organization.
Great. Well, last question, where can people watching this video, where can they find more information about either, contacting you to come volunteer or making a donation or...
Right. So you can either email me at Jack, J-A-C-K, and then my last name starts with the letter S as in Sam, so it's Jack S at YRNO.com. Or you can go to our website, YRNO.com. And I am definitely very proud of our website because it's constantly updated with volunteers on it all the time. You'll be on it for sure. Our Facebook page you can go to as well. When I first came here, our Facebook page and our website were rarely updated. They looked nice, but it's like, if you visited once, why would you ever come back? So definitely all the information, including every project that's going on at Youth Rebuilding New Orleans, you can go to YRNO.com.
Great to meet you, Jack.
Likewise, Chris.
This is a great organization.
I am so jealous of him because, he's going to Memphis, Vegas, all the fun cities around the country. You're from Binghamton, though. Dude, you need to make a stop in New York City.
All right, well, Jack, I'll see what I can do.
All right.
But thank you so much. This really is fantastic. Seriously, check out their website. It's one of the nicest ones I've seen of all the organizations that I'm going to. They really do a fantastic job. And this was fun this morning.
Yes.
I really enjoyed it. So I'm actually going to get back to work here in a little bit. They're going to put me to work this afternoon.
Crack the whip.
No more of this video recording stuff. So, Jack, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.